Hey guys, how's it going? Tez back again with the second instalment of the Barclays Premier League preview or review kind of weekend series. We started this last week. Obviously, we only looked at the one game last week, which was Chelsea Hull. Just as kind of a test episode. But just quickly, in the background, you will see footage of the game, the computer playing the computer in a kind of simulation of the weekend's biggest game, which is of course Monday night's game. It is the other way around. It is United against Chelsea. It's being played at Old Trafford. But just have some footage in the background. Of course, if you don't necessarily want to see the computer play the computer, then feel free to tab out and just listen to what I've got to say about the games that went on this weekend and get on with your other daily tasks. But let's dive straight in. So basically, the gist of this series is we have a look at some of the games that were played on the Saturday, and I give my personal opinions, and I'd like you guys to leave your sort of feedback in the comment section down below. And this will be kind of a series that revolves around real life football as opposed to FIFA and the video gaming world. But this weekend, I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. So today's two games, which are of course Cardiff versus Man City and Tottenham versus Swansea. Neither of those have kicked off yet, but you probably won't see this until this evening. So feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know what the results were in those games, because I'm not sure whether I'm actually going to be able to get to watch any of them. I may have to wait till match of the day 2 tonight to be able to see the results from those games. But let's start with the games that were on Saturday, and we'll start with the lunchtime kickoff, which was of course Fulham versus Arsenal, and it was actually a very exciting game to watch. Though obviously Olivier Giroud put Arsenal 1-0 up early on. It was kind of lucky, really. The ball fell to him. It was a shot from distance from someone else. It just kind of rebounded its way to him, but still a tidy finish to be able to get it away under pressure from the defender and the goalkeeper. So Arsenal, they did well against Fenerbahce midweek, but Fenerbahce really weren't at their best, to be completely honest. And Arsenal kind of had a walk in the park there, even though they didn't play very well themselves at all either. Obviously, the game against Villa last week, they were pretty dodgy, and today, or yesterday rather, they were more solid, more like their old selves. Because Fulham aren't a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, but they were actually able to obviously take a 2-0 lead through Lucas Podolski. His first goal of the two was a very good finish, just power from like the edge of the box, smashing it into the roof of the net. Then his second goal actually was an extremely good finish, pinpoint accuracy and power. Everyone knows what sort of hammer his left foot is across the goalkeeper into that bottom right hand corner. Really was quite impressed with that finish. And then of course Fulham were able to get one back themselves. It was a kind of a generic poacher's goal, a goal that typically Darren Bent has scored throughout his career, and hopefully he should be a very good signing for Fulham this season. And maybe if he can get some form together, he might see some England appearances coming back his way, because we are crying out for a decent striker, an out-and-out striker, a number 9 in the England lineup. So maybe Darren Bent can be that player later on this season and into next year. Who knows? Looking forward to Rio. But let's move from that first game then into the evening kickoff, which was the Saturday night football, of course, on Sky Sports, which was Liverpool versus Aston Villa, or Villa versus Liverpool, played at Villa Park. And Liverpool, had a good win last week, although it was only 1-0, and they probably should have and could have scored more goals. And it was again another 1-0 finish today, proving that they aren't missing Luis Suarez too much as of yet, but they aren't creating too many chances. But they're relying heavily on Simon Mignolet so far in the past couple of games, because Villa had quite a few opportunities. They took their time getting into the game. They were really quite poor first half. Benteke really wasn't on form whatsoever. They had quite a few horrendous touches, but there was a moment of pure brilliance from Coutinho and Daniel Sturridge that led to obviously Liverpool's opening goal after about 20 minutes or so. The ball was played in from Jose Enrique. Coutinho dummied it, and Sturridge, wonderful feat, really spectacular feat to take it around one defender, well, take it into his stride, take it around one defender, then take it around the goalkeeper. And personally, I thought maybe he could have put it in with his right foot, but obviously wasn't confident enough to do so, and kind of stabbed at it with his left foot. Probably better for him to go with it his left foot, because he is quite one-footed, and was able to get the height on it that he needed to beat the defender coming in at the near post to be able to get it into the back of the net. And it really was a moment of genius from him. He didn't really show that too much when he was at Chelsea, that sort of individual brilliance, shall we say, but he did show numerous times last year and so far this year in the game last week against Stoke that he has got a rocket shot from distance. The goal against Stoke last week was very similar to the goal against Man City that he scored last year for Liverpool. Just kind of, he doesn't even have any backleaf. He just stands there and thwacks it with his left foot, and it flies into the bottom corner. And that was his goal last week. This week showing another side of his game that I think probably has developed since his time at Liverpool. So it's nice to see Daniel Sturridge progressing. I still think he's a little bit too ball greedy, but hopefully that will be taken out of his game. Brendan Rodgers can work with him, and fingers crossed, Daniel Sturridge can become the out and out striker that he does have the quality in his locker to be able to pull out. So hopefully he can have a good season as well, and maybe give Darren Bent a run for his money for a potential England place. But let's move away from that game then, and the next game we'll have a look at is Everton versus West Brom. Now, this was a really, really good game as well, actually. Everton, obviously, under Roberto Martinez's stature this year. And I think, actually, they have got the quality in their squad to be able to play the sort of football that Martinez promotes. He obviously, at Wigan and at Swansea, played a very, very high tempo, short passing game that actually went down very, very well at Swansea, and they've continued that with further managers through Brendan Rodgers and now Michael Laudrup. And at Wigan, it worked quite well, although I guess he didn't really have the quality in the squad to be able to pull results out the bag week in, week out. But he did enough to keep them up a couple of times. But unfortunately, obviously, last season they weren't lucky enough to be able to stay up. But Everton, he does have the quality of players in the squad, especially with players like Steven Pienaar to play the ball on the floor, get some nice flowing moves going. And they did play some really, really nice flowing moves in the game against West Brom. Although they were very, very lucky not to go down to 10 men when Shane Long got played through from I think it was Rosenborg played him through, and Distan took him down. It looked as if Shane Long got there first. Personally, by looking at the replay, I thought Shane Long got there first, and Distan didn't really get any of the ball and kind of took Shane Long out. And in my opinion, he was lucky to stay on the pitch. But I don't know whether any of you guys have seen that incident, and whether you think it should have been a red card or not. But personally, I think West Brom should have had a free kick on the edge of the box, and Everton should have been down to 10 men. But fortunate to stay at 0-0 and 11 versus 11 in the first half. And Everton maybe got a little bit lucky later on as well, as Leon Osman flew into a two-footed tackle against Rosenborg, and I don't think there was any intent there. It just was a horrible challenge. It was unfortunate not to get the ball, but did follow through with a second foot and caught Rosenborg quite flush on the shin with all of his studs, which would have been extremely painful for Rosenborg. But he picked himself up, was able to carry on, and Leon Osman did stay on the pitch. And Fellaini actually in the second half had a wonderful chance to steal all 3 points for Everton. Well, really, really nice worked move as Fellaini brought the ball down on his chest inside the box. Played a lovely ball the outside of his foot off, actually went across the goalkeeper and came back off the post. But in the end, I think it's a good point for both teams. West Brom been a little bit disappointing so far results-wise, but they've got a decent squad. Obviously, they did really, really well under Steve Clarke last year. And Nicolas Anelka, who's currently away on compassionate leave, I think. I believe it's his brother slash agent has passed away, but I'm not too sure about that. You'll have to let me know in the comments. All I do know is that Nicolas Anelka is away on compassionate leave at the minute, and it won't be playing for the foreseeable future. But still a good point for both teams. Martinez will be happy to have not lost, I guess, on his first home game at Everton. I'll be pleased to get a clean sheet, and equally, any point away from home against Everton is a good point, especially for a team of West Brom's stature. But let's have a quick look then at Hull versus Norwich. And this was a good game as well. Obviously, Norwich have strengthened throughout the summer, brought in some really, really good strikers, actually, with obviously Ricky van Wolfswinkel coming in from Sporting Lisbon, was it? And then they brought in actually Johan Elmander on loan from Galatasaray, who obviously was at Bolton when they were in the Premier League a couple of years ago and scored a couple of really, really good goals. It took his time gelling to the Premier League, but had one really, really good season for Bolton. So I think it's going to be a good signing for Norwich. But it was a clumsy challenge from Michael Dawson on John Brady in the box that brought about the penalty for the only goal of the game. Actually, the ball was whipped in, and it's just clumsy from Dawson. They both went up for the ball. I think it was Sagbo was challenging with him, and neither of them got anywhere near it. But Dawson just kind of tugged at his shirt a little bit, kind of hauled him down. You can see sometimes you see them give them, sometimes you don't see them give them. But in this case, the referee decided it was a penalty, and of course Brady tucked it away very, very nicely with his left foot into the bottom corner. And Brady's an exciting prospect, actually. Came to Hull from the Manchester United youth setup. And I've been impressed with him in the Championship last year. He's had put in some really, really nice performances, and hopefully he can flourish in the Premier League. I've got a friend who is a Hull fan, lives up there, so hopefully they do well this year in the Premier League. But I think Norwich will be able to recover from that defeat. They seem to be a good side. They've bought really, really well this season. Obviously Nathan Redmond as well will add a bit of pace out wide. And I really like their away shirt actually. Just as a quick side note, Norwich's white and black away shirt was really nice. I did like that kit. Maybe we'll be using that in Ultimate Team when FIFA 14 comes out. But let's move on to the three final games of the weekend. One of them was just an absolute ball draw. Newcastle versus West Ham. Weren't really many chances in this one. Obviously, West Ham had a goal disallowed for offside, which was just offside. But it was one of those absolute snore draws. It finished 0-0, and Gouffran actually had a chance. I can't remember who it was, cut inside and had a shot, and it or crossed the ball in, and it came back off the post and fell to Gouffran about 3 yards out, and he just didn't react quick enough, couldn't get his foot up high enough to put it past Jeskalainen, and just lifted the ball over the bar. But Newcastle were they had quite a few chances in that game, and they had quite a few chances against City as well. But they don't have the quality so far this year. Pardew's under a lot of pressure at Newcastle. Obviously, they gave him an 8-year contract when they finished fifth a couple of seasons ago, and that's dangerous. Really dangerous to offer that sort of deal after just a one-season success, because he really hasn't been able to replicate it since then. And they've been really disappointing the past couple of, or at least last season and so far this year. Not able to pick up a point from the game against City, and only a point in their first home game against West Ham. So they'll be disappointed with that up in Newcastle. But obviously West Ham will be quite pleased with a clean sheet and a point from going to St James's Park, which is stereotypically or ordinarily a hard place to go. But Newcastle just don't seem to have the power and the influence this season that they have previously. Moving on then to the next game we'll have a look at, which is Southampton versus Sunderland. Now, Sunderland, if their squad gels, they've brought a lot of new players. Obviously, Paolo Di Canio has done very well in the transfer market, actually bringing in some really good players, especially Giaccherini, who scored a great header to put Sunderland 1-0 up early on in this game. Really nice header, pulled away from the guy that was tackling him. I think it was Ricky Lambert, who is very good in the air, but Lambert got caught underneath it. Giaccherini rather, just kind of pulled away at the back post and managed to place his header into the back of the net. I think keeper could have done a little bit better with it, maybe if he'd managed to get a little bit further across to his left hand side, but they should have had a man on the post. It's kind of we see that time and time again in the Premier League. Players or teams just don't seem to put players on posts from corners, and it's really disappointing when teams continue to concede goals from chances like that. But that was a one header from Giaccherini early on, and then Southampton were actually able to equalise late on, just like they did last week. With this time, last week it was a penalty. This time it was another header. Jose Fonte was able to get on the end of a cross, and again the keeper should have done better. He got a hand to it, but it was absolute Graham Norton risk. He really should have been able to keep that out. But unfortunately for him, he palmed it into the back of the net, and Southampton were able to snatch themselves a point for the second week in a row. So they'll be pleased with that. But Southampton are a decent side. They did have a goal disallowed for offside early on in the game from Jay Rodriguez, and he was just a hair's breadth offside, but it was a good decision as far as I'm concerned. It was the right decision to disallow that goal. But the last game of the weekend, or last game of Saturday that we're going to have a look at, was of course Stoke versus Crystal Palace. Palace were I don't want to say bad or poor against Tottenham, but they didn't really create too many opportunities. They didn't really give the best account of themselves. But yesterday they got off to a good start, going 1-0 up through Marouane Chamakh. Shawcross really shouldn't have let the ball drop and bounce as it came. The long ball came over the top. But Chamakh did well, brought it down, got it under control, turned inside, and it was a tidy finish. Kind of wrong-footed the keeper as Begovic fell to his left, and he put it to the right-hand side of him. So they must have been really pleased with Chamakh there. But then later on, Charlie Adam actually, before the Chamakh howler, Charlie Adam was actually able to bring Stoke back into it at 1-1. The ball was kind of whipped in from one side, and nobody really took control of the situation. The ball just kind of bounced around in the box, and eventually it found its way across to Charlie Adam. He took his shot early on. It was a really tidy finish actually. You expect Charlie Adam to score the free kicks and the really long pile drive shots, but it was actually a really nice, tidy first time curled shot across the floor, finessed into the bottom corner, which is really nice from him. Kind of a different side to his game that you don't see too much, which he'll be pleased with, and I'm sure Mark Hughes will be pleased as well. But then Palace really let themselves down to let Stoke go 2-1 up. It was just 4 minutes after they brought it back to 1-1, and Chamakh just absolutely bottled a challenge to block the initial shot, and then of course it fell to Shawcross, who kind of kind of hooked it into the far bottom corner to give Stoke all 3 points from that one. And they would have been, Palace would have been really, really disappointed because Stoke's not an easy place to go. Rather, Stoke away is a very, very hard game. So they'll be disappointed with that, but I'm sure they'll take the positives from it and come back stronger next week. So that is going to wrap this one to a close, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. It is a longer video than perhaps the one last week was. It was only 5 minutes. So let me know in the comments section down below what we thought of this second episode, looking at more games in this one as opposed to just the one game that we looked at last week. And of course, let me know how your team got on down in the comments as well. My team, Cambridge United, were able to pick up a 1-0 win at home at Lincoln City to stay top of the Skrill Premier, the conference, the top league in the conference, just underneath League 2. So hopefully they can continue that sort of form and get themselves back into the Football League. And of course, Chelsea play Man United away on Monday evening. And we've got the two games this afternoon, as we previously mentioned, with the two Welsh clubs, Cardiff at home against Man City, and then Tottenham against Swansea at White Hart Lane. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. If you have enjoyed, please do feel free to leave the video a like. That would be superb. And let me know some feedback on the video as a whole down in the comment section down below. But thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.